Everyone's gambling story is different, and it's great to see so many people sharing their gambling story here on this channel. Regardless of the type of gambling you did, whether that be in casinos, at bookmakers, maybe at the races, in arcades, in pubs, whatever. Regardless of the type of gambling you did and the nature of that gambling, there are a few things that each type of gambling has in common. That is the innate ability to lose substantial amounts of money over a relatively short period of time, the inevitable edge that the bookie or the race tote whatever or the arcade has, and most importantly, and what I want to talk about today, is the wealth of terrible advice that you receive throughout your gambling career. Whether that be hold the bells, they're guaranteed to come in next spin, or oh look, roulette spun 2 red 7s on the bounce, so 0 is guaranteed in the next 5 spins, or you want to put all your money on Sad Ken at the 3:30 at Chepstow. Whatever the nature of your gambling is, you will have been exposed to this terrible advice from maybe well-meaning but generally very, very misguided individuals. Normally these people are gambling addicts themselves, people who maybe don't have the money to gamble, so really want to almost live vicariously through you by giving you this wealth of very, very poor advice. The type of people, the people that when you see them walk in the bookies or walk in the door of the pub or start sauntering over to you, that your heart sinks. Gambling is a very solitary activity, and a lot of the time we do it to escape and be left alone, but there are all of these gambling bores with their great hints and their top tips and their dead certs that we just can't escape from. The bad news, and I hate to break it to you, is that this doesn't actually stop when you get into recovery. Yes, the nature of the advice changes, but poor advice around gambling continues to bombard you from every angle. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video. Firstly, to say this video is indeed sponsored by me and my very kind Patreon supporters. There will be a link in the description below. I'm starting to interact with people there via DMs and putting regular weekly comments on there, and going to put some additional videos, and there's a Patreon exclusive Q&A that I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. So there's a fair bit going on over there, and anyone who chooses to support me in that way, it's very, very much appreciated. Like I say, when we're gambling, we get a wealth of unwanted, unwarranted, very poor, inaccurate, and really quite irritating advice. And like I say, this doesn't actually stop once you get into recovery. I spoke recently in probably one of my more serious but more important videos about the first steps of recovery, that one of the key things you have to do if you are to get into and maintain a recovery, maintain a long-term period of abstinence, is communicate. You need to communicate with those around you, and in my instance I found the best thing to do was talk to as many people who would give you the time of day, who would listen. I said in that video that not everyone is going to be understanding, not everyone is going to be receptive, and ultimately not everyone that you speak to and open up to about your gambling addiction is going to become part of a highly valuable support network. Quite often the people you believe will understand and support you the most, the people you believe to be maybe your close gambling friends, are the ones that are more dismissive or even negative about your desire to get into recovery. And I spoke about that again in a recent video. But a lot of people will be supportive, and that's brilliant, but along with that support comes advice. A lot of people's gambling advice is very, very well intentioned. These are people who want to help you, who want to help maintain your recovery, and do genuinely have their best interests at heart. However, a lot of the gambling information and gambling advice they've heard is from the mainstream. It's from the mainstream media. It's things they maybe overheard, little slogans they heard about, only gambling what you can afford to lose, and when the fun stops, stop, and all these things that are pushed into our faces via the mainstream media every day. This is quite often the impression that non-gambling people have about gambling and about gambling addiction, and they will use this opportunity to reiterate some of this advice they've heard, or some of this advice that they believe to be really, really helpful, to regurgitate this back to you. And it is, as I say, well-meaning, but as gambling addicts, as recovering addicts, we know better than anything the nature of this addiction, the nature of this disease. We know what we need to do, we know roughly where the problem lies, we know the habit that we need to break, and often the advice we are given is either contrary to this, or it merely is something that we know already. Like I say, such as, there's only one winner, or you never see a poor bookie, or something like that. You hear this advice time after time after time, and it's no use to you. What I would say is this. Unlike the gambling bore that comes up to you in the bookies and tells you to bet on Sad Ken at the 3:30 at Chepstow, who realistically, if it was legal, you may well be worth giving him a bit of a slap round the face and telling them to bugger off and leave you alone. If someone is wanting to offer you advice in a well-meaning but misguided way, then accept it with good grace. Listen to them, almost pay lip service to what they expect to hear back, and then maybe in time you'll be able to maybe educate them a bit more. You'll be able to explain a bit more about your own personal situation with gambling and how they can maybe best support you. The very fact of the very fact that they are offering advice, albeit bad advice or cliched, unwarranted advice, is evidence enough that they do want to help. So accept it, and maybe in time you can talk to them, you can explain to them a bit more, get them to understand a bit more. But if they do want to help, humour them, because they will become almost certainly an invaluable part of your support network during the early stages of your recovery. The reason I wanted to say this really is because once I came clean about my gambling to various people, I would say 80% of them did come back to me with some form of advice, well-meaning but misguided. I also then pursued counselling and actually went to gambling counselling sessions with a trained professional counsellor who, to my relative surprise, again repeated some of these cliched tropes back to me. And I sort of expected different from someone who was qualified, because I believe that they would maybe have a greater insight to the addiction and the processes of the addiction and the way the addiction works. But I sort of almost just repeated back to you sort of the textbook things that could apply to almost any addictive behaviour or addictive substance or whatever. So it came to me, and this is one of the reasons I started this channel, I came to understand that maybe the only people that truly understand this addiction as well as we would like are the people that have lived through it, the people that have experienced it. And like I say, this is why I make these videos. It's not because I think I'm any kind of replacement to professional help, but I am someone who can sort of hopefully relate to the issues that maybe you're experiencing, relate to the stories that you kindly share with me here and on my Patreon. And you get that sort of feedback that, you're not alone, that somebody understands you. And like I say, the people that want to give advice, that want to help, will sit and listen to you. And maybe in the least patronising way possible, you can educate them about the realities of this addiction, which ultimately will help them to help you maintain your period of abstinence and get into a lasting recovery. But it might be that in the early stages, when you first come clean, when you first start talking to people and building your support network, that you will have to pay lip service to, and you will have to humour, cliched and repetitive advice from people who mean the best, but maybe don't always get it right, eh? Like I say, thank you very much for everyone's continued support. Patreon link in the description below. Thank you to everyone who signed up there. If you don't want to support me in that way, that's cool. Just watch the videos, like, subscribe, comment. If that's that's a real help in of it itself, and it helps me reach more people. It allows me to spend more time making these videos. Like I say, to the guys on my Patreon, I'm going to use some of that money, or all of that money it will be, and more probably, to get Premiere Pro, to get Photoshop, so I can make better thumbnails, maybe edit my videos better, just improve the content, hopefully reach more people and build the community, as to try and help as many people as possible, really. Yeah, and that's about it. Like I say, be patient with those who want to help you, because you don't know how valuable they're going to be further down the line. Stay safe, stay sane, and I'll speak to you all again soon. All the best.